There's not one guy, one person in the history of this program that's bigger than the program.
Ooh, what's up? Welcome into the week 12 of the program Roundup, where we break down all the biggest college football games of the week. I'm Patrick Hertzberger. Joined with me is Mark Hall, Matthew Gann, and Mason Prince. Great college football week. Things are starting to pan out, guys. What are your initial thoughts?
Yeah, let me go first. My initial thought is that this podcast, Patrick, it's brought to you by thefanstop.com. And as a part of being brought to you by thefanstop.com, one thing that you can do is you can go to their website. They've got like 50 schools covered here, and you can sign up for their college game day shirt of the month club. And what you're going to get with that is a t-shirt, long sleeve, or hoodie, depending on the package you buy, that delivered to your door every single month. And these look good, they feel good, they smell good. You know, when brand new shirt right out of the mail.
Oh yeah,
smells
out
great.
the package. Yep. Yeah,
wonderful. And you're going to sign up for a year of that, and we're going to get you 3 months off, or 3 months for 15% off, and that's going to get with our code PGUYZ. That's PGUYZ. That's PGUYZ, PGUYZ. Or you're going to go look at some of their brand new game day polos. These also look good. They feel good as anything you're going to find in any store, and they're cheaper than that. It looks awesome, guys. They're not trying to make a killing off of you. And you know how I know that is because if you use our code PGUYZ on this one, PGUYZ, you're going to get 15% off that one too. We can't do any better. They can't do any better. This is as good as it gets. And Patrick, that's really all I had in my brain even to start the podcast. So
love it.
Please continue.
Yeah, Mason, week 12 thoughts?
Yeah, the top four continue to play like the top four, but Jordan Travis going down for Florida State is all kinds of massive. And that's something we will get to. That's kind of what sticks out the most to me. Matt Gann?
Yeah, a lot of teams took care of business, some clinching some spots in their conference championship games. And I think some teams are finally starting to separate themselves in each of their conferences. So look forward to jumping in and talking more about it.
Let's do it. Let's start with the Big 12. Let's just recap some of the biggest games in the Big 12. Oklahoma beating BYU on the road 31-24. We have a post-game podcast about that. You should go check it out after you listen to this. Texas defeats Iowa State. A lot of people thought that'd be a trap game, but Texas wins that game 26-16. Kansas State beats Kansas. It was a tough one for Kansas. That was a neck and neck game. Kansas State winning that 31-27. And Oklahoma State beats Houston 43-30. Anything in general in those games or the Big 12, guys?
Pretty much anything that could have happened to help Oklahoma make the Big 12 title game didn't. So that was quite funny. That OSU score 43-30 over Houston was closer than 43-30. Houston hung around for a while and had the lead at points. OSU kind of pulled away late with some later scores. I actually went to bed before the end of the Kansas State-Kansas game because I thought Kansas had it in the bag.
Yeah.
And I went to bed, and there's that. And Texas taking care of business at Iowa State. Mark talked about it last week, how hard that was, how hard of a game that was going to be for Texas, and they showed out. They played very well against an Iowa State team that was hungry for an upset.
Hungry for an upset, but that's the thing, and we've said it about this year's Texas team versus the past Texas teams before, is Steve Sarkisian has these guys ready to go in a way that other Texas Longhorn coaches, they just weren't building the same kind of thing. They weren't getting the same kind of guys in there. So very interesting that this is the team that's able to get over the hump. First 10-win team in how long for Texas? So great win for them, holding on in a tough environment there. Matt, what do you think about some of those games that Patrick rattled off earlier?
Yeah, Texas and Oklahoma State were tested. I think Iowa State was 6-3 at halftime, so eventually pulled away in the second half. And Houston had the lead going into halftime, I think up 23-19 before Oklahoma State started pulling away and showed clearly that Oklahoma State and Texas were the better teams this weekend. But I think another game that we're sleeping on, a team that OU is going to be facing next week, the first ever Blue Bonnet Bowl between Baylor and TCU, a new rivalry started this past week, and TCU winning 42-17. Their quarterback going for 402 touchdowns. He'll be bringing his talents into Norman next weekend. So it should be a good last Big 12 showing. But the Big 12 is starting to shape out. Looks like OU mathematically is going to be not in the Big 12 championship. Obviously, some things can happen, but with these two victories with Texas, Oklahoma State, looks like OU most likely not going to make it to the Big 12 championship in Arlington this year.
Hey, Matt, I got to do it. Do it. What's that quarterback's name?
Hoover.
Jake Hoover.
Name? Jake Hoover.
All right, good shit.
Okay, nice.
Love it. So good
also,
win for TCU. Go ahead, Mason.
Also, Texas, 10-win season. Mark mentioned it. That's only their 25th 10-win season in school history.
Josh Hoover.
Josh Hoover. It's that's the most.
Sorry, it goes
thing I've ever heard.
Josh Jacob Hoover. Jake's
no, it's
no,
really
that's John Jacob Jingleheimer Smith.
Hoover.
That's what that is. Yeah.
But it again, Matt Gann, 85% right at all times.
Always.
It's amazing. But yeah, Texas 25 10-win seasons in their history. That's including 2023. That's absolutely wild to me, having that number laid out in front of me. Really, really crazy. But yeah, it looks like it's OSU Texas if the wins hold, right? If Texas and OSU both win, it's a Texas OSU Big 12 title game. Interesting.
And I think we're all kind of like, that's what's predicted to happen. But BYU is trying to make a bowl game, and they have to beat Oklahoma State in order to get into a bowl game. And then Texas is going into Texas Tech. That is not an easy environment to go to.
Well, I'm telling you right now that Houston team is not any good. And OSU letting them score 30 and letting them hang around for as long as they did, they're lucky they escaped with a win. BYU's
Texas is at home, but
yeah, and BYU's got to go to Stillwater, but we know other teams can win in Stillwater. South Alabama showed us earlier this year, so it'll be interesting.
Yeah,
I tend to think things hold.
Yeah, so do I.
I think so too. Anything else in the Big 12 before we move on to some Pac-12 drama? Okay, Caleb Williams may have played his last game of collegiate football. UCLA beating USC. It was 38-20, I believe.
38.
Yeah,
yep.
Just minor typo there. Utah having a bad day against Arizona, losing that game 42-18, and Washington pulling out a close one against Oregon State, dogfight 22-20, remaining an undefeated Pac-12 team. What are your overall thoughts on? I guess let's start with Caleb Williams and this USC team.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what their identity is. They're no longer like explosive offensively, and they aren't good on the defensive side of the ball. Caleb Williams, though, credit to him. That first touchdown USC scored where he steps up in the pocket off balance and it's like 50 air yards. That's dumb. That's crazy. That's a freaking throw right there.
Yeah, I mean, you saw Kyler make a similar one today, and
it's crazy. But USC's in big trouble, and Lincoln Riley, whether you want to believe it or not, should be on the hot seat because USC's paying him a whole lot of money. His buyout's massive, so let's lay that out. Right, he's not getting fired. I'm telling you, he's not. But does he start to look at the NFL? I mean, it's not going the way that he thought it was going to go or anybody thought it was going to go in Southern California. So that's interesting to me.
Not to brag, but I've been on this corner since the beginning of the season.
You have.
Look, the thing is, he's gotten lazy at calling offense and relies so much on Caleb or a similar wizard at the quarterback position to really get things done. And it's just gotten less creative. It started in 2019 with Jalen Hurts, and it's just gotten worse since then. Don't be surprised if Lincoln jumps because you were seeing he clearly doesn't know how to build anything on defense. He contracts that side of the ball out, and everyone on that side of the ball right now is suited to play a goofy pinball style, boop, 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 bounce all over the, this direction, that direction defense, and be 230 pounds at the defensive line. And I just think he's going to leave it a worse mess than he found it, because right now, 7-5, it's already Lincoln's worst season ever. and
Shame.
he was the head coach of some very successful teams. Took over a program thinking he could instill all of the infrastructure and built-in goodness of the Oklahoma program. Clearly can't do it. He's not that guy. They're not that school. Best wishes to Caleb. I don't know why you keep thinking he's not going to play football anymore, Patrick. I think he plays out the year. He played the Alamo Bowl for Oklahoma. I just think,
as a true freshman, though, right?
sure, yeah,
Seniors,
but
I'm just
as
saying he
a
could
true
opt out.
freshman who was set to transfer out, I just think he could opt out of, like, are they done playing ball?
They're done playing ball. That was their last game
Yeah.
Okay,
because they played
I
week
see.
0.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. My mistake. We'll never see him in a USC uniform again.
Yeah. Thank
Patrick just mind melted Mark.
Yeah,
with the
yeah.
scheduling.
Completely.
Again,
did.
hop in there,
Completely
bro.
did.
Hop in there, Matt.
You guys covered USC. I think the Pac-12 is shaping up to be a Washington-Oregon rematch, which I think is everyone is
hot.
wanting to know. Because one of those teams is going to have the ability to now make it into the college football playoff, like what you said, Mason, with Travis, the quarterback for Florida State going down. The committee is going to have to take that into consideration. What is Florida State going to look like? Can they continue to compete in the ACC? Now they're going to have to play Louisville, and that team's not that bad. They played pretty good against Miami and been playing good all year. Can Florida State get over the hump of losing one of the best QBs in the nation? I mean, he was having an absolutely brilliant year. So that's going to be a big blow. So that really opens the door for Washington or Oregon, potentially Alabama if they get to the SEC title game. I know we'll talk about that in a little bit, but it's going to be the rematch between Washington and Oregon, who's going to have a potential chance to be a top 4 team at the end of the year.
Yeah, definitely playing out interestingly in the Pac-12. The biggest thing that surprised me, this is the regression of Utah. They've had a tough year with not having their quarterback. So
he's coming back next year.
Yeah.
He's already said it.
He's coming back next year. So that's great to see.
So I will say, I know we'll probably get to it later, but I think the Pac-12 is now a lock for a college football playoff berth. I think whoever wins the Pac-12 title game is going to be in.
Even if Florida State wins the ACC?
Yeah, I do. Because I think the committee is going to take into account the quarterback injury to Florida State.
I think there's a real world there where we end up with 2 SEC teams and either 2 Big 12 teams or a Big 12 team in Texas instead of Washington or Oregon. That's the only thing that I think is
into the playoff
possible in this world. Yeah.
You think Texas would jump Washington or Oregon?
I think it's possible.
So.
It's possible.
So.
Texas goes out there and
put in
dominates
Alabama.
a Big 12 championship. Well, not necessarily. This is a
I don't
different
think
Alabama
so.
team. This
No.
Alabama team beats the crap out of Texas. Yeah. Again, you came out pretty hard against me. Make the case, buddy.
Yeah, I just don't think Texas has the ability, even if they won the Big 12 championship, they're not going to have enough ranked wins like Oregon and Washington have by competing in the Pac-12. I don't think they're going to be as good of a team or Texas doesn't have enough, I don't think, to overcome Washington or Oregon, or even if Bama wins the SEC title game.
To be clear, I tend to agree. I think the scenario where you have 2 Big 10 teams and 2 SEC teams is more likely than any where Texas jumps in there. But I think it's a team that's in the mix is more of sort of the point that I'm getting at.
I agree.
That could jump in one of the multiverses that Doctor Strange sees when he's floating in the air, right?
Yep.
I agree with
Florida State, just speaking of the ACC, Florida State wins their game yesterday 58-13 without Jordan Travis mostly. And
so sad, though.
Yeah, so sad.
Super sad.
Awful. Like that video is just really, really bad.
Yeah.
And obviously North Alabama is not a good team, but they still put up 58 points with their second string quarterback. So it's not like they can't score. That game against Louisville will tell the committee if there's this, even 90% of what they are with Jordan Travis or not. Other ACC games, but before I get to it, remember we are sponsored by our friends at the Fan Stop. Click the link in our description right now. Go to their website, sign up for their Shirt of the Month Club, or get yourself a game day polo. Use our promo code PGUYZP, guys. Clemson defeats UNC 31-20, coming out hot there. This Clemson team likes they're just good at upsetting other teams. And I don't even know if it's an upset. They just had a bad start to the season. Notre Dame beats Wake Forest 45-7, and Louisville defeats Miami in a close one, 38-31.
Louisville.
Louisville?
Yeah. Gotta sound like you have peanut butter on the roof of your mouth.
What you
That's
actually
awesome.
have is a nice big mouthful of hot brown.
Hot brown, man.
No,
Hot brown.
let's not
Louisville.
go there.
Hey,
No, you know
do you
who
guys have-
loved Hot Brown back in the day? Matt Gann.
He did. Matt did.
Let's stop that
I
there.
have
We're
no
stopping
idea
in
what
the
you guys are
tracks.
talking about.
Yeah,
Literally
you
no
wanna know.
clue.
You don't want
You do. But yeah, I think Louisville goes into the ACC championship game and gets beat even with a backup quarterback for Florida State. I don't think they can hang. I just don't. So I think Florida State goes undefeated, wins the ACC, and they have a very strong case. Yeah, Mark.
So
Oh,
your
sorry.
take is that they go undefeated, win the ACC championship game, and still miss out on the basis of Tate Rodemaker. I hope I'm saying that right. Being the quarterback.
I'm saying right now, if I'm given the choice between an undefeated Florida State and a one-loss Oregon, I'm taking Oregon.
I don't
I'm
think you can
taking-
do that. I don't think you can do that.
Yeah, I have a hard
I think
time.
you can, and I think they would.
I have a
I
hard
think you-
time.
I don't think the
with
committee would ever.
getting
That'd be like
there.
so unprecedented.
But it'd be interesting, man. It'd be fun.
In a world where they just throw out the blanket statement eye test and you don't have to know what eye test means and you just have to accept it, yeah, it happens. I'm telling you right now, it does. I'm telling you. Just be prepared because people are going to be butthurt if it happens. And I'm telling you first here on the program roundup.
Mason's here to warn us. Let's get into SEC real quick too. Georgia, Tennessee, man. Gosh.
Yeah, tell us about your Tennessee team. What happened?
Yeah, tell us what happened.
Tell us what happened.
It's a full regression, man.
I thought the
defense
quarterback
isn't
could
playing
throw
well.
like 100 yards. I thought that was a good thing.
Yeah, the quarterback can throw it further than anyone else, west of Mississippi or east of Mississippi. But look, it's just been bad for Tennessee. Hopefully with
That would
Nico
mean
next year,
wins.
it's better. But 38-10 for Georgia over Tennessee in Neyland Stadium. Missouri beats Florida 33-31. They come back and score a field goal with about a minute and a half left. And then kind of one of the biggest headlines of the SEC is NMSU. If you don't know what that is, NMSU is New Mexico State University beating Auburn 31-10. That's just dreadful. Anything high level on the SEC you guys want to touch on?
Absolutely hysterical. Auburn lost to New Mexico State because if you are a true college football fan, you know that Hugh Freeze, when he was at Liberty, lost to New Mexico State in his last season at Liberty. And then New Mexico State played Liberty without Hugh Freeze. Liberty beat New Mexico State. And then New Mexico State goes down to Auburn, beats Hugh Freeze again in Auburn.
Hysterical. And to be clear, if you didn't know that, you are not a true college football fan. If you didn't know all of those things, about Hugh Freeze and Liberty, you don't count.
Yeah, if you didn't work 6 months in the Shenandoah Valley like I did and cover Liberty football for a season, then you aren't a true football fan. I'm kidding. But
you are though, because you're listening to the program roundup.
Exactly.
And we have Mason, so you're good.
Exactly. So by proxy, you're a real one. Yeah. But Auburn's in big trouble. Arkansas also saying that they're going to keep Sam Pittman. That's wild. Pretty nuts.
Tell us your thoughts. I'm just thinking that
go ahead.
Oh, just large fitting clothes are going to the salesmen are going to make a killing.
Oh yeah, the man's ear is going to make a strong play in Fayetteville. I get Arkansas not wanting to have turnover in a year where you're welcoming in new schools and you're like trying to build something and you don't want to have more turnover because Sam Pittman is, whether you believe it or not, he's well liked in Fayetteville. Like the fans like him, the players like him. They're just not playing good football. That's the plain and simple truth of it. And it's sometimes you have to be like, okay, well, we're not playing well. We have to make a change. And they're just not. I hope for Arkansas's sake, they're making the right choice, but I don't think they are.
Yep.
But yeah,
go.
Alabama looks freaking great, and that Georgia-Alabama game is going to be fun as heck. That's going to be a straight up dogfight.
I can't wait.
Oh, dude.
I don't think Alabama has a chance. I'm sorry. I'll just say it now. I think Georgia.
Patrick, I'm here to tell you that Tennessee is not as good as you thought they were.
Well, that's
like,
true.
and Alabama is good.
Yeah.
Like they may like lose by 2 scores, Alabama, but like they'll be in the game more than Tennessee ever was.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's going to be such a great day of football. My goodness.
It's going to be,
awesome.
I can't wait to cover that here on the program Roundup, brought to you by the Fan Stop. Matt Gann, what do you think about SEC football?
Yeah, it was one of those weeks where the SEC, a lot of teams were playing like FBS or FCS teams, like Alabama was playing Chattanooga or whatever it was. Missouri's on the up and up, though. They've looked pretty good the last few weeks, beating some good teams. Georgia, I think, clearly is the best team in college football. It's them and then everyone else at this point, even within the top 4 teams of Ohio State, Michigan, who are going to play next week. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But Georgia is clearly the best team. They have been the best team for the last 3 years. When they play Alabama, don't count Nick Saban out. That will be a good game. But Georgia, Brock Bowser, Carson Beck, I mean, they are playing at just an elite level. And they showcased that yesterday and will continue to do so.
Well, Georgia's great, but Alabama has finally figured out how to use Jalen Milroe like you should. And like Mark said earlier, this is not the same Alabama team that lost to Texas. It's really not. So, and I'm not saying they're better than Georgia, but that game's going to be a ton of fun, and it's going to be haymaker punches thrown back to back. Isn't it weird that Georgia has like, it felt as though, and I'm not saying maybe from their perspective, but from an outsider's perspective, it feels as though they've like slept walked through the season, but they're beating the crap out of everybody.
Yeah.
And you're just like, you look up and, they're 12-0 or whatever, or 11-0. And you're just like, what the heck? How do we even get here?
It's because they haven't played anymore.
That's what I guess think.
I'm sorry. Didn't you have Tennessee like winning the SEC or some shit?
So no, I didn't.
don't know
but
how
this Tennessee team should have lost 38-10, and like they're not that good.
I certainly agree.
Missouri is the best team that Georgia's played, I believe.
Maybe, but
it's Missouri, so like that's why they're sleepwalking through it.
We've seen Carson Beck get better throughout the year. We've seen the homie Lad McConkey his way to the annals of Georgia football history. We've seen Brock Bowers come back and immediately make a huge impact last week. Again, give him a Heisman. It's about high time a tight end won the Heisman. And I just don't see how you get sleepwalk, maybe, but that's because they're that much better than everyone else.
That's kind of the point that I was trying to lean on. Yeah.
It's
just, not that like they haven't been playing hard. It's just like they're that much better than everybody. And it feels as though there's not a lot of effort that goes into them winning a football game. They just kind of go out there and they're like, we're better than you. And here's 60 minutes of us showing we're better than you. All right, we're going to get out of here.
Yeah,
that's just kind of what it feels
currently like. On a 27-game win streak, the longest current active winning football streak. I think only 2 or 3 games behind like the record, I believe, like 30 plus that Alabama set a few years back, and that's spanning across a few years. And they're playing in the best conference. So if that tells you anything, they've clearly been the best team last few years.
All right, let's get into the Big Ten before we tell everyone our CFP playoff predictions. But Penn State takes care of business against Rutgers, winning that game 27-6. Michigan, tight game against Maryland, winning only 31-24. Ohio State defeating Minnesota 37-3. Very characteristic game for Ohio State there. And Iowa beating Illinois 15-13. Also a very characteristic game of Iowa there. That clinches Iowa's seat in the Big Ten West. They will face either Michigan or Ohio State in the Big Ten Championship. Anything there, guys, before we get into our picks?
I just hate the Big Ten. I hate it.
Yeah. This conference sucks. I can't wait to bet on Ohio State or Michigan. Like whatever the number is, I'm in. That and probably the under, right? Like it's just easy. Stupid conference.
Yeah, and Ohio State, Michigan
brand of football. Just the dumbest brand of football. Ohio State and Michigan are different because they're superior. But otherwise, and Penn State sometimes, otherwise it's so not fun. It's so not cool, not fun. Maryland was close. That was a fun game, right?
Yeah,
That was a
right?
very fun and interesting game. Give Tagovailoa half the flowers we want to give Tua because he really showed out, did what he wanted to do, just came up short. But my God, Iowa's not going to be fun watching them struggle against Ohio State / Michigan. This conference is boring. To think it's on the level of the SEC is underrating the SEC and overrating this poo-poo platter of mid teams from the Midwest. Thank you. I'm done.
I know Kirk Ferentz's son is like resigning at the end of the year or whatever, but remember at the beginning of the year, he needed to get the certain amount of points. Is he even close? There's no way. There's no shot he's even close.
He's way under. He's way under. They haven't even got close all year.
Yeah, go ahead, Matt.
I was going to say the Big Ten West. I mean, Iowa, Northwestern, Wisconsin, Illinois, Nebraska, Minnesota, Purdue. It's got to be like the worst grouping of teams I've ever seen. And obviously, since they have the divisions, that's going to go away next year with the additions of a couple more teams from the Pac-12. But the fact that one of these teams makes it to the Big Ten championship every year, I mean, they're just going to get destroyed by Ohio State, Michigan. Is that in the Big House, or is that at the shoe next week for that game? I can't remember.
I don't know.
Oh,
It looks like it's at Michigan. Either way, that's going to be the game of the week. Top 14, one of those who's obviously going to make the Big Ten championship and most likely get into the college football playoff. I would take my money on Ohio State making that happen.
Love it. Mark, you're on mute.
I've got odds right now, actually, if you want them. Ohio State is Michigan is a 4-point favorite as of this moment at home against Ohio State. Look, when you can't understate the Stallions effect.
Yeah.
All right. Harbaugh is still involved every moment up until kickoff, and then he's out. Fine. But the Stallions effect is still in play. And those guys, they're bought in, man. They're bought the heck in. Those stupid uppity Michigan versus everybody shirt like things that look, I hope they get their shit rocked by an SEC team, but it might not. I don't know if it's this week against Ohio State. I really don't think so.
No, I think they have Ohio State beat.
Ryan Day's not that guy, I think.
Yeah, I take Michigan in the points is what I take. Honestly.
Like it.
But
agree with the Connor Stallions comment. It was supposedly in his manifesto to get fired to rally the team to a national championship and then come back. So
that's wild. Let's not put our 10 hats on. We don't need to
just
speculate on that.
Just kidding. Hey, I want to ask this question like this about your top four. Not who are your top four right now, but who do you think will be the final four?
Okay.
Mason, I'll start with you.
Georgia, Michigan. I think Oregon is one of those teams. And then 4 is hard for me. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, it's not that hard for me. It goes Georgia, Michigan, Alabama, Oregon. That's going to be what it is.
So you have Alabama winning, is what you're saying.
I don't even think they have to. I think a 2-loss Alabama is that good. But
wow, okay.
But I also do think they win.
That's a hot take because the head-to-head against Texas will not put they won't go in over Texas if they're a two-loss team.
They look good, guys. I just think that
I get it.
No, I agree with you.
Alabama.
They look good. Yeah, I agree with you.
You got to respect the belt, and like while Kirby's belt is on a little bigger now, Saban's is. I don't want to talk about comparing sizes between these two men. So move on.
Yeah.
That's my four.
I think Florida State wins out, and then I'd put Florida State 4. That's what I do. So I said Georgia, Michigan, Oregon at 3. They leapfrog, I think, and then you go ahead and give me Florida State at 4. That's what I think.
Matt, I'll go Georgia, Ohio State, Florida State, and then probably Oregon. I think they'll win out and beat Washington and overcome. And those wins, even if Texas wins out, I think Oregon beating Washington, the only team that beat them, and that's going to be probably a top 10 matchup. I think they're easy to get on that 4th spot. Florida State will win out, get 3, and then Georgia will continue to be 1, and Ohio State will be 2.
I want to
So you think
renounce all
Ohio
of mine because I thought about it again and it's kind of dumb the way I had that put
Let's
together.
do it. Let's do it. Round
So-
2, Mark Hall.
All right. Yeah. All right. So Georgia number 1, right? Michigan 2. And then these guys are right. I think it goes Florida State 3, Oregon 4. Because Georgia's going to beat Alabama. And,
Thank you, Mark. I will give you my fadu.
Thank you. Thank you. You guys were right. Good calling me.
Well, I haven't even
The
gone yet. I
Okie
don't-
trades of the squad. All right.
Yes.
Thank you.
There you go.
Yes. I've got Georgia, Michigan, Oregon, and Texas. I don't think Florida State wins out against Louisville. And I
Dude.
think Oregon defeats Washington. Texas.
Dude, it's so frustrating because, like, I don't want you to be right, but you have a very strong case to be right.
Yeah.
Because they're going to look at a 1-loss Texas team and drool. And drool. And that may be all it takes. Just because they're going to – I don't care what you want to say about competitiveness. Money talks. And Texas in the college football playoff in their last year in the Big 12, people are going to start seeing dollar signs. Like that's going to mean something. So yeah, it's gross, and I hope you're wrong, but yeah, it's highly likely.
While I was on the betting thing, another thing I can't wait to bet on is whatever team plays Quinn Ewers in the playoffs.
Oh yeah,
Just can't wait.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah. Yeah.
It's very true.
I also think it's going to be, I also think you could see a situation where if Alabama does beat Georgia, you have to put both of them in. So you have Alabama and Georgia.
Yeah.
The committee is going to say, hey, we have this head-to-head rule. So Texas is automatically in. And then you've got to decide between Michigan and I know you guys disagree, but I don't, because I think this head-to-head carries more weight than what you think it is. What you guys think it carries. So
If Texas
I think,
was undefeated, sure, but like they then lost. I think that resets you a little.
Yeah, since it was earlier in the year, Alabama's been the far better team than Texas since that game.
yeah, that's a good point. It's a good point.
And if they beat a number 1 Georgia team in the SEC Championship neutral site, yeah, they're definitely getting in.
Let us know down below in the comments what you think. Who's your top 4?
Yeah, and while you're there, like and subscribe to the program, guys. We bring great content every single week. Mason,
Every
where
week,
can they
baby.
follow us?
You can follow us on all of our social media at Program Guys with a Z. That's at Program Guys on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok. Be real, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah,
You
maybe. Yeah.
It actually just hit. It hit during this episode, so you guys are in my Be Real.
I freaking love you, man. Yeah, you can follow us all there, and you're wherever you get your podcast as well: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Check it out.
Awesome. And
MVPs?
remember, what does Matt just say?
I have no idea.
MVPs?
No, we're not
MVPs.
going to do our MVPs yet because we're sponsored by the Fan Stop, and you should go to the link
Thank
in the
you.
description.
Hold
and
on,
click
real
it.
fast.
Yeah, go ahead.
Matt, do the fan stop hit.
No, you guys got it. You guys are killing
No,
it. Go ahead,
Matt,
Patrick. Let's
Matt,
hear it.
Matt, do the fan stop hit one time.
No, he's not going to do it.
He's not going to do it. Okay.
Just go, Patrick.
Go to thefanstop.com, join their Shirt of the Month club. You get awesome swag delivered to your doorstep every single month. Your first 3 months get 15% off with our promo code PGUIZ, or just go get yourself a new game day polo with our promo code PGUIZ as well. MVPs of the week. Mark, let's start with you.
Yeah, I'm going to go with a guy who I've already picked as MVP before, but this time for a different reason. I'm going Brent Key, Georgia Tech. Head coach obviously has that program on good footing, only a 23-point dog hosting Georgia this week. Get your bets in on Georgia while you can. And clearly has that program looking good. Got the head coach for Syracuse fired like today. That's pretty tough, but to be the guy that puts someone out, that's kind of cool too. Kind of a thing there. And Georgia Tech's going to go bowling this year. Like it's a huge turnaround for a team that wasn't even close before he showed up. So Brent Key, my guy, multiple time MVP for me. MVP again.
Love it. Mason?
I'm going to go LVP of the week, and my LVP of the week is going to be Fox Sports and ESPN. You know why, guys? Because at the beginning of the year, we were all told time and time again that Colorado is a real deal, and Deion Sanders is making a difference. And they flew in The Rock, and they flew in Pat McAfee, and they flew in all these freaking celebrities to Boulder to say how awesome they are and how great we should be praising Colorado for being, where everyone else who has a brain was like, this Colorado team isn't any good. What has happened since they did all those college game day hits and the big noon kickoff and all that crap? They've gone 1-7, and they're getting their break speed in by not very good teams. Like, I'm sorry, man. And this isn't a shot at Deion Sanders. I'm not taking a shot at Colorado. This is a shot at ESPN and Fox for trying to build this hype to something that it's not. You're trying to get eyeballs, and you're fraudulent. Like, I know what you're doing. And that's the game. It's ratings, right? We play the game as well. We try to get views and all of that, but they were doing it peddling snake oil, saying that Colorado is a team to beat, and they're just not. Everybody's beat them. They're just not very good. And that's okay. They aren't supposed to be. But you told us that they were, and that's gross to pass your analysts off like breaking down film of how great Colorado is. Like, shut up. No, they played bad teams. LVP, ESPN, Fox Sports.
Top 5 Mason rant right there. Matt?
I'll go another LVP. I'll go the Auburn Athletic Program for paying New Mexico State about $2 million to get their break speed off. They were 25-point favorites, I believe, ended up losing by more than 20 points, losing 31-10 at home. Auburn's athletic program for scheduling that game and paying $2 million just to get beats by 20.
Love it. My MVP of the week is Chip Kelly, UCLA head coach, was on the hot seat, got his team ready for a derby. I don't know what you guys call it in the U.S. or in football, a derby, and
Sure.
38-20. 38
Rivalry game.
Rivalry game.
In-state rivalry.
There it is. Rivalry game.
Yeah, you're okay. You're really handsome.
Yeah.
You're really handsome. Also, I do want to give an actual MVP though. Jaden Daniels. I'm trying to get his actual stats here for the people. 413 yards, 6 touchdowns, 10 carries, 96 yards, 2 touchdowns. If LSU and Brian Kelly weren't, ruining their season by being inconsistent, he should be in New York, because that dude's been playing
Could
really
be the
well.
Heisman winner. He's been the best player all year.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Right. That does it. Remember, we are sponsored by the Fan Stop. Go to the link in our description right now. Go to their website, join their Shirt of the Month club, or get yourself a game day polo. That's a wrap. Thanks for listening. Thanks for joining, guys. Mason, take us out.
Keep pushing it, baby.
3, 2, 1.
There's not one guy, one person in the history of this program that's bigger than the program.
What's better than this? Guys being